What's going on?
All in,
There we
all
go.
in, all in. We're all in with
Here we
all
go.
in,
Buck,
all
here
in,
we go.
all in.
Here we
We're all
go.
in with
Here we go. Here we go. It's casual happy hour, but I just wanted to let intern know we see or hear a little bit of what's going to be part of the new intro next year. We have a really cool idea. We don't want to talk about it right now because I don't want to spoil the fun. Intern Noah, the pro commissioner, how you doing?
That was the weirdest intro
It's going to
in
be
this show's short history.
short history. This show has been around since 2013, sir. I mean, yeah, we took 8 years off, but that's not the point.
Oh man, I'm doing pretty good, man. It's Thursday, right? Weekend's fast approaching. How are you doing, man?
I was doing really good. I was eating well this week. I was, making my body clean. And then I just mentioned to you earlier, hey, I'm probably not going to drink down the happy hour. And you almost quit and started talking about a party and all that stuff. And I'm just like, okay, brother, I guess we're going to have to do that. Now I'm doing good. Ready for the weekend. Ready for baseball, oddly enough. Speaking of, do you care about the World Baseball Classic?
I'll be honest, man. It's just an exhibition to me. I don't really care. I know,
For a while now.
yeah, and I know a lot of people take them seriously. It's just not for me, man. How about you?
Same. It's fun. I watched a little bit of the Mexico versus U.S. game. It was really fun. Former Ranger Mark DeRosa almost basically face planted, basically telling people that they had already made it to the next round, and he kind of did his lineup like that against Italy. And then they lose to Italy. Now, thankfully, they got bailed out by Italy the next week, beating Mexico, or the next game beating Mexico. But yeah, it's just there's no stakes in it. I mean, I don't even. I think Japan won last year or last time. I think I don't even remember who's won. I don't even know. Has the United States even won one? I guess they probably have. I don't know.
Beats me, man.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just and it was weird though because Bryce Harper said something like, "Well, you might enjoy this, but it's not the Olympics." Olympic baseball hasn't been consistent enough that I care about that either.
And apologies for those that are watching. We're having some technical difficulties. You'll still be able to hear us, but on Terry's side, there might be a lag.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm not even usually when I'm lagging, I can see it, but it's not even showing me lagging at all. So it's we had the storms Monday, and our upload speeds have been terrible. Our download, my download speeds is perfectly fine, but for some reason I can't get the upload working. But we'll figure it out. Maybe what if every 4 years, instead of an all-star game, you took 2 weeks off in July and did this? When you've got pitchers that aren't trying to have to go back to camp to warm up, batters who aren't ready, like 2 weeks, because you could do this real quick.
You know, that reminds me of what just happened with hockey.
Yeah.
They do that, and it works out. It doesn't really interrupt their season too much. For some players, it's a nice break. For others, it's like you get to keep fresh. You get to go overseas or wherever the Winter Olympics are at, and it's camaraderie. Play with guys that you don't typically play with. So yeah, I mean, I actually like that. That's probably the only thing of the Winter Olympics I do like watching or keeping track of. But uh, I guess speed skating, maybe. I don't know.
I used to get into all of it a little bit. I loved watching the luge and the bobsled, but that was mainly to see if they wrecked, just like watching NASCAR.
Oh, what are you drinking?
Oh yeah, I wasn't going to, but I mean, this isn't technically a formal show, but I'm just sipping on a tumbler of vodka. What about you?
I am doing Johnny Walker Green Label, and I wanted to try something on the show. I want to smoke this drink. Now, as you know,
Go ahead.
I don't know where you went, Terry, but okay, there you are. I like smoke old fashions. As a gift, a good friend of mine got me an electric cocktail smoker. It's called Smoke Pub. And with the Smoke Pub, you get wood chips. So I've already placed some wood chips in the little container. So you just have to seal it until it snaps, like that.
Okay.
Got my Johnny Walker Green Label. The reason I'm using this is because I like Blue Label, but this is only $67, whereas Jerry Jones' favorite drink is over 200.
That way, if it messes up, you don't.
Yeah.
All right.
So you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Here we go. Oh, wait. Yeah, let me. Okay, here we go. Now flashing green. Okay, that's good. And then once it stops flashing, then I can press the button and then it'll smoke. I was having troubles with this before, and a couple weekends ago, I figured it out. So I wanted to try this on the show since you and I both. I mean, we started this show mainly because we like to drink and hang out.
Yeah. No, again, that's why I like today. I was like, screw it. I'm going to go ahead and.
I don't know if you can see it. There we go. Can you see?
Yeah, you did really good. I like that. We might make a short of just this.
Yeah, I should have tried this a couple times before we went on the show. So here you go.
Does it really change the taste?
Oh yeah, it does. So yeah, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's something I can travel with. Just make sure it's charged. Make sure you bring enough wood chips. And now I get me a smoky scotch, essentially.
There you go. So he's drinking a smoky scotch. I'm gonna name the short "No He Smokes" poll.
Oh, that is pretty good.
Oh man, I wish I need to bring in a like a news break sound. So I'm just gonna do it for us now. News all the Japs attack Pearl Harbor and already signed the 1-year deal with the Minnesota Vikings.
You can't say that word now.
I'm literally going off of a real news reel. But no, seriously, Kyler Murray. Well, I guess seriously, Pearl Harbor was attacked. Been a while.
Yeah.
Been a while. See, I don't drink for a few days, 2 sips, and I'm ready to start dancing like Coyote Ugly. But Kyler Murray signs with the Minnesota Vikings, only a 1-year deal. I like it. I like it for both sides. I like it for Kevin O'Connell because I really like him. I'm just worried they made the wrong quarterback decision. This at least gives him someone to fall back on or maybe end up starting the season. I think Kyler Murray is one of those guys. He hasn't lived up to his draft pick, but he's not been bad either. And Sam Darnold, Kyler Murray, I think they're one in the same, not style-wise, but where they have fallen. I think this is a great move.
I think it's a great move for Kyler Murray and for the Vikings and for J.J. McCarthy. I think he needs someone that has experience and has proven success. Now, Kyler Murray, his first 3.5 years were great. They were really great. It's just what happened after midway 2021 is where we're judging him off of. I think it's a great move. It's low risk for Minnesota, and they get a quarterback that can push JJ McCarthy. This is the make or break year, assuming he'll be healthy for the full season, assuming Murray might be healthy. We can figure out if Kyler Murray is really good or if JJ McCarthy is really good or if he needs to be moved or, Minnesota needs to go in another direction at quarterback. Because 2 years ago, they had Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones in the same locker room. And now both players are going to both have $100 million contracts with their respective teams now.
So this is the era that we are as a quarterback. Now, his win-loss record isn't great. Though back in 2021, they started out so hot. It looked like they were going to, be a contender from the Super Bowl. I remember they came in and them and Dallas were both hot and on Monday night, and Arizona has done what Arizona does to Dallas over the last 15 years, just eviscerates them. But this is his stats. 67% career passer, 121 touchdowns, and 60 interceptions. That's not a bad stat line at all. Like, that's a really good quarterback, but it hasn't translated since, as you said, 2021. Though in 2024, they were 8-9 and way better. That defense was the issue. It wasn't Kyler Murray that year.
They were leading the division going into their bye week, and then they just kind of collapsed after that. I guess the defense really was the one that collapsed.
Well, they collapsed. That's kind of what they did. Even though they finished 9-5 and made the playoffs, that's what they did in 2021. I think they were 7-1 at one point or something like that.
They were. I think they were undefeated, and they lost the Monday night game at home to the Packers.
Maybe that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, they had a hot start. They had all these free agents come in the offseason after the COVID year 2020. And for a while there, Kyler Murray was looking like the MVP candidate. So I like this move for a lot of different reasons. Minnesota, they get depth at that position. For Kyler Murray, he can prove himself. He's 29 years old. He still has something left. JJ McCarthy, the rookie that the Vikings drafted 2 years ago, he has a chance to be pushed a little bit, and he can find out that if he's going to actually be an NFL quarterback or not.
Yep, and it gives Minnesota two guys who could compete. I don't know why. We've talked about it before on the field, but I guess JJ McCarthy's just not really well liked. Like he just seems like maybe it's a misunderstanding. Maybe he's different. He feels like he's the opposite of Sam Rosen. Sam Rosen was all too relaxed, I think. Or what's his name? Rob Johnson from Buffalo. You know, they always say, everybody said, man, he was a great quarterback. The problem was he just sometimes didn't seem like he cared if he won or not. I wonder if JJ might be the exact opposite, where he's just kind of an asshole, but he hasn't earned that asshole status. You know, it's like they say on Major League. I'm Bull Durham. I'm sorry. The Tim Robbins, the young stud rookie, has fungus on his shower shoes. If people don't know, you don't get athlete's feet when you shower. You wear flip-flops or something like that. And so Kevin Costner's character, Crash Davis, sees, he goes, you got fungus on your shoe. He goes, that's just nasty. If you make it to the show, you can have fungus on the shoe. Until then, you're just a slob. That's like JJ. If you prove that you can win at the NFL level, you can be an asshole leader. Tom Brady, Michael Jordan. But until you start winning, you're just an asshole. And so maybe it's going to be a weird locker room. You got too intense versus Kyler COD. I'd rather play video games Murray.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It reminds me of poor versus rich. When you're crazy and poor, you're just crazy. But when you're crazy and rich, you're eccentric. So it's
movie Hoosiers. I love it when they're talking. It goes, there's two types of crazy. There's crazy on the street and I can avoid you. And then there's crazy in my home. We've got some issues. I have said this, I think, to you before, and I might have said it on air. I think Kyler Murray's biggest thing was he didn't know how to lose. Like, he never lost in high school.
Yeah.
He didn't lose his
random small fact, he still never lost at Cowboy Stadium.
Yeah, he still never lost at Cowboy Stadium. He didn't lose his first 7 games or 6 games, whatever it was, till Texas beat him. And then he acted like an ass after the Texas game. And then when they beat Texas that same year in the Big 12, then he's wanting to go over and shake Sam Ellinger's hand and all. I don't think he's adjusted to losing. So I think when he got to the NFL and, they lose, I think he just shuts down. I think that's where he just would rather play video games. I think that's, I play video games. That. My escape is video games, but I'm going to take care of my other shit and then go play video games. And I just feel like this is a really good chance for him to kind of rebuild, like Sam Darnold did, the belief in what people think of him in the NFL.
Yeah. Again, like I said, this is a great move for him. If he takes it that way, he can still salvage this career, this NFL career. I know there was reports that he might go back into baseball, where he was drafted, I think, 9th by the Athletics. And, with all their improvements they've been doing as they're moving to Vegas in a couple of years, adding someone like Kyler Murray, maybe he might not be good, but just the attention that's going to be drawn to the Athletics would be worth just throwing him an offer to attempt to be on the opening day roster.
Yeah, so. No, I totally agree 100% on that. I don't think baseball is ever a thing. Look, even if he went now, he'd have to at least go to spring training for a season. I mean, he's made his football bad. And I still think it can be the right decision for him. All right. So if you don't know these happy hours, excuse me, getting that acid already. These happy hours when we're not like drunk drafting or watching a game, we are talking free agency football, but we're going to be doing it. It's more relaxed. Some of these will be done as reels and stuff. And so you might hear us do a countdown, things like that. Just cool, chill. If you want to comment, no matter where you're at, just comment there. We'll see it on our little platform we have that we use. It shows our chats from everyone. All right, let me go ahead. I guess you said you wanted to check NFL.
Yeah, this is the NFL website.
All right, so where Which one is it?
I can just send you the link. A little behind the scenes of Outdrink the coverage.
I got it.
Oh, okay.
That's what I say. This is more relaxed. We'll do this kind of stuff more. All right. So let me make sure this doesn't load.
Yeah, it's funny that we started with Kyler Murray. He was the most, the latest breaking news. It's been a pretty interesting start to free agency. I'd say the Baltimore Ravens kind of made it very entertaining with the trade that didn't happen with star defensive end for the Raiders, Max Crosby, who's still a Las Vegas Raider. The Ravens and Raiders had an agreement to send, the Ravens would send 2 first-round picks to Vegas for Max Crosby.
Yeah.
Outstanding talent, still, under 30 years old. But, I think he tore his meniscus, and, the story is he tore his meniscus last season. He's recovering, and I guess the Ravens said he failed a physical, so they wanted to nix the trade. All legal, as you mentioned in one of the shorts, the many shorts you've put out the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, trying to keep up with free agency.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I understand from the Ravens' perspective. I don't necessarily think that's the real reason why they declined the trade. You have a theory. I have a theory. I'll go ahead, since I'm talking, I'll go ahead and say my theory. My theory with the Ravens is they didn't expect to lose as many players as they did to start free agency. So they wanted to pivot, and they're a team that really values those first round picks. So I feel that Baltimore, after losing Isaiah Likely, Charlie Kohler, and among other players, they decided to pivot and said, we want those 2 first round picks back. We'll sacrifice not getting Max Crosby. Instead, we'll go for a more one-dimensional player like Trey Hendrickson, excellent pass rusher, but not an all-around player like Max Crosby.
So I said that on the short too, but I will admit I've altered it a little bit. I think maybe they really did see something, and here's the reason why. One of the doctors that's let me pull this up real quick so I can get his name and everything. But one of the doctors that looked at the paperwork and the MRIs and all was Dr. Dan Cooper. Now, Dan Cooper is the Cowboys team doctor, and one of his expertise is knees and knee injuries and things like that. He looked at it as well, and then all of a sudden Dallas dropped out. Now, the reports were, well, Dallas didn't want to give their 2-1s. Well, maybe that's why they didn't want to give 2-1s. Maybe if he'd have looked at the MRI and said, oh, he's 100% along where we think he's going to be, whatever you want to call it, then, yeah, let's do it. And so that makes me think maybe there was at least enough of a wiggle room for the Ravens. And then you add, as you say, a little bit of buyer's remorse, a little bit of Trey Hendrickson saying, hey, I'm willing to come down a little bit. I think that all kind of worked together.
That could also very well be it too. Now, you and I have praised the Ravens front office for making pretty sound decisions throughout their entire existence since they left Cleveland to go to Baltimore. I'm going to still stick by what I'm thinking. I think they lost Patrick Ricard, multi-time All-Pro fullback, to the Giants. They lost Isaiah Likely to the Giants. They lost Keaton Mitchell, a solid running back, and Charlie Kohler to the Chargers. They lost Draymond Jones to the Patriots. The big one, Tyler Lindenbaum, I don't know if I think they were expecting to keep him, but he signed a huge contract to go to the Raiders.
See, and we don't follow all these teams as far as the inside news. We try to as much as we can, but finding some Baltimore team pages on Facebook, I think that was a 50-50. And look, let's be fair. He signed a massive deal. And so I don't necessarily think it's the wrong thing for the Ravens. I'm not saying you can find centers, but there's a reason why, even though Travis Frederick was on his path to a Hall of Fame career, even in the moment, people were like, why did you draft a center with the first round? Because usually your centers are kind of more pluggers. The guys that are the 4th and 5th round guys, or even guards that you just move over. So I don't think that – I think the Raiders need it. I think it works for them, but I also don't think it hurts the Ravens as much. And maybe some of these guys the Ravens were kind of letting go because it kind of went sour in the locker room last year.
Yeah, they had such an up and down season. I think Lamar Jackson messing up his hamstring was the big thing because even when he was back after being injured, he was still not the same player. I think you'll get a much better Lamar Jackson in 2026. They'll need to shore up that offensive line a little bit. I think Derrick Henry is going to be just fine. That he's that rare breed that, I mean, he's 31 years old, 6'3", 245, should be worn down, but he looks better than ever. So I think they'll be fine there. I think they'll contend again. I really like Jesse Minter, and I really like the idea of defensive-minded head coach like Jesse Minter being paired with Max Crosby. I still like having Trey Hendricks in there. I think he's going to excel in Jesse Minter's defense. So I'm kind of bully on the Ravens, especially with the chaotic nature of the AFC North. I'm not really sure who is going to win that division next season. I'll probably wait until after the draft to have. I'll probably have a better idea by that point.
All right, so since we are technically a Cowboy first podcast,
all in. All in. We're all in with.
Jerry said they were all in. He did make a first day signing that we haven't seen them do in a few years, signing safety Jalen Thompson to a 3-year deal worth $36 million. You and I both like that deal. He also made a trade, again, after they supposedly stepped back from the Max Crosby. They go out and get Rashawn Gary from Green Bay in exchange for a 2027 fourth round pick. I don't like this deal. I like this deal if he wasn't making, and I know they're going to probably restructure, but I would like this deal if he wasn't going to make like $18 million next year, and he wasn't a 4th round pick. For the trade. If it was a 5th or 6th, I get it. But the Packers are going to release him. And people say, well, yeah, but this gives them control of him. Yeah, but if you release him, then you get to start with a complete new contract. They had to take on the contract. He's a solid player, but he's never reached that first round potential. And then he looked like he was in 2021. Then he tore his ACL, and then he hasn't looked the same since. I just feel like this is going to be a trade we're going to shake our head at the end of this year.
You're kind of banking on him having a bounce back year. I know the end of last year wasn't the best for Gary, but over his career in Green Bay, it's been pretty solid to good. I like the move. The Packers definitely got the better end of the deal because, like you said, the only other option was for Gary to be released. So the Packers getting anything in return for Gary is a huge win for the Packers. But if Christian Parker, our new defensive coordinator, the Dallas Cowboys' new defensive coordinator, feels good about Rashawn Gary, then I'm good with it too.
My favorite thing is as they ship out one Odigizua.
You said it right. Good job.
They bring. I haven't even looked at this one. So is this Otiti Ogobanya?
I think so. That one I'm gonna have. Ogbonio.
Is it Ogbonio? Let me look. This is one of those I've
or is it Ogbonia?
I've seen his name on stats and stuff, but I don't know if I've ever actually heard it. Because usually when we're watching football, we're either watching the red zone, and to be honest, the last couple times that we were watching the Chargers, it was Cowboys. We were doing a live show. We've done weirdly like 2 Charger live shows. Yeah, Okay, hang on. Otito Ogbonnia. That's actually easy.
Otito Ogbonia.
And so for some people, this is one of those things that people get too in love. I mean this in a good way, but people get too in love with their players. And yes, Dallas did extend Odigizua last year at this time, but things changed. And by all accounts, most people, and I think even Oza himself, felt like he wasn't going to be a good fit in this new system. So I think Dallas, as bad as the Rashawn Gary value was, I think Dallas got good value. You got a 3rd round for a 3rd round player. It's very rare you get a lateral draft pick for the, usually you're going to have to drop down to the 4th or 5th. I think a good move for them, and I think honestly a good move for San Francisco.
Yeah, I think it's a win-win for both teams. San Francisco sorely needed some line help. I mean, they just need healthy players. I think what Robert Saleh did with that defense, considering all the injuries, is the reason why he's the new Tennessee Titans head coach. But yeah, getting Odigizua is going to really help with the 49ers pass rush. I think a lot of people were not happy with this trade because they felt that Odigizua is much younger than Kenny Clark, and maybe Odigizua should have stayed in Dallas, and the Cowboys should have traded Kenny Clark to the 49ers instead. But I just think with the run defending, I think that's where Kenny Clark excels, and I think he's a better fit for Christian Parker's defense than Odigizua. I wish we could have kept him, but getting a 3rd round pick for him, I'm very happy.
Well, and again, being a 30-year-old Kenny Clark, defensive linemen are oddly, and you wouldn't think this because of the violence, but oddly they can play into their later years. I don't know if it's maybe because they're not, covering much ground. I liked Odigizua as a pass rusher, but with a 3-4, where are you putting him? Your 3 guys up, and he is in no way has the ability to play an outside linebacker. He wasn't even an outside linebacker, but he'd literally be like Levon Kirkland on the outside. He just doesn't fit in what Dallas is going to do now. And so I'd rather get value for him, send him on his way to where he can play and by the way, Matt Eberflus is on San Francisco staff now. The former defensive line coach last year for the Cowboys is on San Francisco staff now. And so I think this is one of those where it's not a bad, nobody's unhappy. Everybody was like, we need to find you a better place and we're going to get value for you. And they did. And then what they're bringing in with Obanya is he's what you need. He's a plugger. Your 3 guys up front in a 3-4 front need to be plugger guys. And that's what he's going to be. I like what we have up front going forward.
And like I always say, man, it's like a house. You got to build it. You got to build the foundation first. And for a defense, that's the line. They set the tone for the entire defense. So I definitely love it. I'm liking how this defense is shaping up so far. I've been burned before, so I'm not going to lean all in. I'm not going to say all in. Definitely not saying that. But yeah, I'm definitely happy, man.
And I like them. Dallas re-signed Sam Williams 1 year, $3 million. I like that because he's now going to play OLB, outside linebacker, and we might finally get to see him truly unleashed. Again, you and I joked about it. Dallas over the last, couple of generations always seem to have a linebacker. I mean, you could even go back all the way to the 70s with Thomas Henderson, but always seem to have a linebacker that's almost ready to make that next step, and they don't quite do it. We talked about Kevin Burnett, and then I'm trying to think of the Bruce Carter. You can even add Anthony Spencer because he was an outside linebacker. He had a couple good years, but he was a 1st-round pick. He was never what they thought he was going to be. Sam Williams, I'm hoping he's the one guy that breaks through and becomes the next. Okay, he's finally developed, and I think in a 3-4 he can.
Yeah, Spencer had that really good 2009 season, and then it was kind of not a quick downhill, but it was a downhill after that. I like Bruce Carter. I think he played with the Cowboys in the early 2010s, and then he just left a little too early. I think he went to Tampa, and it just was never that guy. But yeah, this is great. I'm glad. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Carter never became. I mean, Carter was always on the fringe of becoming the guy in Dallas.
That speed, I love that speed so much, man.
All right. So looking at Anthony Spencer. Oh yeah. No. It was he had that great 2012 year. He had 11 sacks.
Oh, okay. I was thinking 2009 because that defense was so good in 2009, and that kind of carried them to a division title.
Yeah, he had that 11 sack year in 2012, and everybody was like, "Oh, we got to build the defense around him and Ware," and then they were like, "Bye, Ware," and then he disappeared, and he did not live up to the 1st-round status. But anyway, it's just a weird thing Dallas has with linebackers right now, which is also weird because they've also had some really good linebackers. It's not like, well, except for the last couple of years, it's not like linebacker play over the last 20 years has been consistently bad, because it hasn't. They re-signed Javonte Williams. You and I both agree. 3 years, $24 million deal. If he does backslide, you're not eating a ton of money right there.
Yeah, and he had a really good year, and I really liked what he did with Brian Schottenheimer. It looks now it's not too big of a contract. It's sizable, but he was definitely worth it last season.
Yeah, and again, and if he does backslide, and I kind of worry that he could a little bit, you're not gonna be like, oh my God, we can't cut him. He's 16 of a 24 getting guaranteed. You can live with that. That's a great, just like with signing him last year. It's a great gamble. I like this one. No jokes aside, not just because he's from Texas. But PJ Locke, I think this is a guy that kind of, we talk about Sam Williams and Bruce Carter. He's a guy that in Denver didn't quite reach that status they were hoping. But if you go look at his stats, he's been really, really consistent.
And he started all 3 playoff games for the Broncos the last 2 seasons. So he has playoff experience. He's been in an AFC title game, something the Cowboy franchise hasn't been in, well, conference championship game in a while. So I hope he brings that experience to the locker room, and it's a positive impact.
I don't know why, but I like Sam Howell signing for a 1-year deal. I like what they're trying to do with Milton, but I also like you have a quarterback behind Dak that's won and started multiple games, because again, I hate to say this, but it feels like Dak's on an every other when it comes to injuries. So you feel like he's going to miss a couple games this year. I like Milton, but I would rather have a guy that I feel like, okay, I can put him in the fourth quarter and he's going to make enough plays to be safe, but can also gamble and not just be Milton and you're just hoping he's athletic.
Hey, if the Denver Broncos last season taught us anything, a capable backup quarterback is very crucial. So getting someone like a Sam Howell, a former starter, a capable starter, I'm happy with it.
The New York Giants, they did what happens when a coach moves. As you mentioned, they get a couple of Ravens. Patrick Ricard, I don't know how they're going to use him there. That's going to be interesting because, I mean, I'll be honest with you, especially because of the injury, I kind of feel like with what Harbaugh wants to do, doesn't Cam Scadaboo seem like a perfect fullback prototype?
I mean, yeah, but with someone like him, you might want to revolutionize the fullback position if you put Scadaboo back there, because he was pretty capable out of the backfield, pass catching. I don't know, man. I think Scadaboo could use a compliment.
What would be revolutionary about it? He'd be a fullback that can catch and block. I mean,
but he also can run too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, Daryl Johnson.
I mean, like he can get 1,000 yards. Like you're gonna put him at fullback and you're gonna like run him like Larry Zonka for the Dolphins in the early 70s.
Okay, first off, Cam Scadaboo will never get 1,000 yards. The dude is I hate to say this. I think what's gonna make him work is you put him like in a fullback where it's a niche position where you're not trying to give him 31 carries a game or anything. Give him 15.
You know what?
5 carries and 5 receptions. And I think he can be dangerous.
Why don't you put your money where your mouth is, sir?
What?
I think Cam Scadaboo in the next 2 seasons will have 1,000-yard rushing season.
Okay, I disagree with you.
You want to bet?
Yeah, let's make a bet.
What's the wager, sir?
30 minutes with Grant in the closet.
That's too rich for my blood. We'll just go with bragging rights.
No, let's go steak dinner.
Steak dinner it is.
Steak dinner. Okay. Hang on. I got to bring us back up here. A steak dinner. Okay. Here's the problem when you do these bets. If I say, okay, I'll buy your steak dinner, I get to have a steak dinner as well. The loser has to either pay for the steak and like studio wife can cook it, or you can cook it, or I can cook it. And they have to only eat a salad while after fasting for 48 hours. This is getting convoluted, but this is gonna be fun. So that's the bet right there.
Oh, so that's in the next 2 seasons, right?
Yeah, next 2 seasons.
Okay. Okay, I can definitely do that.
All right, and now I will say this to be fair. I don't even remember. I never remember where this is. Hang on. Nope. It's time for the weekly edition of Outrank.
So finally.
Oh, did I get rid of it? Well, now knowing, to be fair, probably shouldn't let me drink tonight. I will give you an out if he has a career or season-ending injury in either one of the seasons or both, or once. You know, if one of the seasons is out, if he gets hurt with it less than 9 games, you have an out. Okay, because I don't want it to be because of injuries. That's not the fun part.
I want to mention the number of players that went to the Titans from the Giants.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Speaking
So-
of it, it's funny how so many Jets and Giants ended up at Tennessee with coaches that supposedly everybody, the players, hated, but boy, they sure are going down there.
Yeah, Robert Saleh, former head coach of the Jets. Brian Daboll, the new offensive coordinator for the Titans, was the Giants coach last season. So Wan'Dale Robinson, the shortest 1,000-yard receiver in NFL history. Tight end Daniel Bellinger, really good tight end that was never maximized with the Giants. Center Austin Schlottman. I don't. Maybe I butchered that name, but and also cornerback Cordell Flott. So that apparently Daboll liked all four of those guys. So they're all Titans. Curious to see how that works out.
Well, and you can even add, you got like John Franklin Myers, who one of his best seasons was with Saleh. They traded for Jermaine Johnson, who was a Jet. I feel a little steep there giving up to Devondre Sweat. I know I'm a Texas guy, but he's a plugger. By the way, one of the things we want to talk about, the pluggers have been getting paid this year, whether it be offensive line or defensive line. I love seeing that. But yeah, this is interesting to me that both of these guys that supposedly, part of their issue was they, had problems in the locker rooms and such. Yet there's a lot of players willing to go. And that doesn't mean there aren't other players that hate them. Tennessee, to me, is going to be fascinating this year. Oh, speaking of, I think tonight they're introducing their new uniforms.
Yeah, I think we saw a preview of them about a month ago or a month or two.
Confirmed.
Oh, okay. Because they're supposed to look more Houston Oilery.
Here we are. They are, and they do. Oh my God.
Can you put it on screen?
Oh my God. Hang on. I need some time alone. Folks.
This is a family, not family show, okay? Calm down.
A family show. Hang on. I got to find the screen share.
Yeah, for anyone that's never watched our show, we are big into uniforms. I'm really big into end zone appearances, like the scheme, how it looks. Terry's big on face mask. So aesthetics are very important for us on Outdraink the Coverage.
Oh, hang on. That's not it. I got to remove this one for a minute because of the way my internet's tonight. But check this out. Where's it at?
You tell me.
What the hell?
I'm just wondering what kind of. Oh, I mean, that's basically the old Houston Oilers. For those that are born before the year 1996, the Houston Oilers moved to Tennessee in '97, became the Tennessee Titans. Or no, wait, wasn't it?
What?
Yeah, it was the Tennessee. It was Tennessee Oilers, '97 and '98. Then they moved to Nashville, became the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. Hang on, let me get a better.
And the Adams family, the original Houston Texan, the Houston Texan or Houston Oiler owner, he took the history of the Oilers with him to Tennessee. So, there's always that point of contention between the Texans and the Titans. So this is only going to add to it.
Well, now I have a theory about this. I'm trying to get the bigger screen one so we can look at it better. I don't think they've officially released the helmet. All right, so one thing I don't really care for the stars on the side to the left. That was on the original Tennessee Oilers helmet. I think they're trying to kind of force that in. But my theory is that is pretty, man. Like, that is pretty. But my theory is I think the NFL told them either use the colors or get off of them.
I would like that. I mean, that works for me too. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I just feel like because that had become such a kind of a big thing with the whole like why doesn't Houston keep them and all that, and so I think the NFL probably told the Adams, look, y'all either use the colors or we're gonna revert the colors, not the franchise history though. I really hope one day in the future, especially now that Tennessee's been around long enough, I really hope one of the owners in the future goes, we're giving the history back. Earl Campbell's leading stats should be in Houston. Even it's from the Oilers to the Texans. He has nothing to do with Tennessee. But I legitimately feel like they told them, hey, you need to, oh man, they're even going with the baby blue pants. I like the all white, but I do miss the old baby blue pants. I'm trying to see the helmet. Helmet's going to look a lot like the Oiler helmet. I haven't seen the side one yet. But yeah, I really do. I think that the NFL went behind the scenes and said, y'all need to either use the colors or get off of them. And I think this is a brilliant move. And that means I have to get a new helmet because I have the new one. Even their
And
first,
hey, your birthday is in a few months. Just enough time to get the helmet.
oh yeah, and I just put it on the job. But even the older look when they became the Titans, it only looked good because it became iconic for a while because of Steve McNair and all that. Guadalupe Rodriguez, he's been joining us before. He says them Dallas Cowboys making big moves this offseason.
What a name, Guadalupe Francisco Rodriguez. Love it.
Guadalupe Francisco Rodriguez. I think the Cowboys have made medium moves. I wouldn't call what they've done a big move. I like Jalen Thompson. I said that in the short. Jaquan Brisker is a Steeler. I'm going to cry, says Derpy. Hey, Derpy. That's perfect name. I was going to cry in a good way. I was like, wait a minute. Are you not a Steeler fan? I like Brisker. But I think Dallas has made medium moves. I like Jalen Thompson. As I said in the short, I really like him because he's 28, but he has 6 years starting. So you're getting a veteran who still could play easily 4 to 5 more years. I like that move, but I'm still waiting for Dallas to make that move. And to be fair to them, well, now knowing, to be fair, Jerry said he was going to try to make moves. He did with Nakobe Dean. Dean chose a different team. Now, the money was around the same. I think Dean just went with a feeling, and there's nothing wrong with that. Also, let's remember, they also signed Quay Walker. Him and Quay Walker played college football together, inside linebackers together. So maybe there's just a lot of that. I want to play with my best friend. I get that. But if let's say Jerry would have added $10 more million, well, then everybody would be screaming like, oh my God, Jerry overpaid. What the hell? So you can say we're going to bust the budget, but that doesn't mean you're going to get stupid with it. Outside of the Gary move, and if he gets 10 sacks this year, 10 sacks next year, then he's worth it. I like what Dallas is doing. They're making attempts, but they're not breaking the bank on the attempts.
Which is on par with the Cowboys. They usually don't overspend. Usually don't.
But they usually don't even try. I think this year they tried. They actually engaged with Max Crosby. I think they probably engaged with Trey Hendrickson. In fact, I think I still believe if the Max Crosby trade stays, I think Dallas might have ended up getting Hendrickson. Though Eric DaCosta, the GM for the Ravens, claims they were going after both Hendrickson and Crosby. Maybe they were. I just feel like that's a little bit of backsliding to protect yourself.
And the Raiders, they have a lot of cap space. So whatever the Cowboys were going to offer Dean, I'm pretty sure the Raiders would have trounced him. So Nakobe Dean got 3 years, $36 million, $20 million guaranteed. I'm pretty sure the Cowboys offered something somewhere close. Dean is fast. He's good. Some injury issues, but the Raiders are going to overspend. And they overspend for Linderbaum, but there's a premium now for interior line play. And I think it's because, well, the Chiefs, it's a copycat lead. The Kansas City Chiefs, they had 3 basically future Hall of Famers at one point in Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, the best center in the league, and Trey Smith. So 2 elite guards, elite center. And the Seahawks, they basically drafted Gray Zabel, the difference maker for them. It's kind of solidified Clint Kubiak's offense when he was the OC with the Seahawks last season. And that's one of the big reasons why Kenneth Walker had such big holes to run through in the Super Bowl this past season.
I don't know if this is, I see what you're saying. I just don't know if this is a copycat. I mean, you can basically look at every Super Bowl champion maybe in history, and your interior 3 are usually going to be pretty strong. I think what has happened is it's become a money position, which I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing because, and I mean, I love it for the player, but there's not a lot of teams that's saying, okay, we're going to have a guard and 2 centers with $75 million of our cap eaten up. And that's kind of been the knock when Dallas was, good, but not great with one of the, I mean, you're talking 3 interior linemen, 2 of them, or one of them's going to the Hall of Fame. The other one would have been if Travis Frederick would have stayed healthy. And hell, you could even still make the case if you were giving him an injury exemption. He's still, I mean, all pro, multiple, like every year, I think, but one. And it didn't win anything for him. So I don't know if this is a new thing. I just think the money's a new thing.
That's what I meant. Like the money shows that there's a premium now on interior offensive line play, and that's just how I see it.
The problem is, and I mean this in a fun way, the problem is what position now gets taken away because you can't pay everybody that kind of money.
Correct. So, yeah, and especially salary cap era, you really can't. You can build the best team possible, but you're not going to address every issue. You can address most of the issues. Having said that, I think the low key top underrated free agency team as far as like quality of signings, Washington Commanders. I don't know if you've been paying attention to them, but they got edge help. They got Chason from the Patriots. They got Owe. I think he was with the Ravens. I can't remember. Solid edge players. They kept Andrew Wiley. The big one to me, and he was the guy I really wanted with the Cowboys, is Leo Chanel. Mm-hmm. Very young, playmaking, underrated Kansas City Chief linebacker. He was all over the field for them. He was a guy I really wanted the Cowboys to go after, but it just didn't happen. It sucks he's going to a division rival. But outside of that, they got Okonkwo, a really good tight end from the Titans. They got Rashad White, a solid pass-catching running back from the Buccaneers. They kept Mariota. Treylon Burks, a former first-round pick with the Titans, signed with Washington last season. He kind of has shown some bright spots with them. So it's kind of interesting to see what he does this season. This could be a season where he might be a sleeper fantasy pickup.
Oh, I like that. I don't know. I'm not as impressed as Chanel's okay. He was also a guy that when he was in spot duty, he looked really good, but the more he was on the field, the more you saw his issues and his weaknesses. I do like Krylevon Shazen, 1 year, $12 million, kind of a prove it deal. I don't know. I mean, this is the type of signings Dan Quinn and them like, though. So if they fit what he's going to do, we'll see. I still think Dan Quinn's looking for a new job at the end of this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, it was kind of odd that he got rid of Cliff Kingsbury. The DC, I understand getting rid of him, but like Kingsbury did a pretty good job in 2 years there with Washington. But maybe Dan Quinn wants a different style offense, maybe something that suits some of the talent they already have, like, Laramie Tunsil, the big free agent signing, not free agent signing, the big trade they had with Houston last season. Because they need to protect their stud quarterback. He can't be injured this year. His elbow has to be facing the right direction. You know what I mean?
And I heard that's part of the reason with Kingsbury's gone is Dan Quinn felt that after he got hurt the first time and when they brought him back, that Kingsbury kind of left him exposed and stuff and didn't try to go, okay, I'm going to bring in instead of a fourth wide receiver, I'm going to bring in a tight end to help with pass protection, and he didn't. And so that's where I read where Quinn wasn't real happy with that. And that kind of makes sense.
Even though Washington is a division rival, I do hope that Jaden Daniels, their star quarterback, returns back to health. I don't want him to go RG3.
But that'd be so weird if it happened to Washington twice.
That would be.
All right, what team you want to go to next?
We could stay. You want to go to the Texans since this is
They've been a big nothing burger in the free agency. Now they did trade for David Montgomery, but man, in the short, I thought it was a good deal. But man, the more I look at this, the Lions fleeced them. for a guy that's about to be 29, a guy whose numbers have dropped off. Now, partly is because, Jahmyr Gibbs has stepped up, but still a guy that's more of a plotter. Houston gave up an offensive lineman, a 4th round, and a 7th round. I think they overdid that one.
Well, for one, to be fair, I really think that if Houston, considering how bad their offensive line is, if they're giving up an offensive lineman, I'm pretty sure it's not a great offensive lineman. I'm just going to say that right now. But another thing, I like what they did later on, and they got former Colt offensive tackle Braden Smith, one of the best right tackles available. 2-year deal. That's going to really help the offensive line. It's not going to fix everything, but it's going to make them better this season than they were last season, and that might be the difference.
Well, I mean, it's funny you say that, though. You talk about Juice Scruggs going and what he did, but I mean, go back to Washington. Look at Laramie Tunsil and Houston. All they talked about was, man, he's terrible, man. We got him, and he had one good year, and he goes to Washington, and he's perfectly good lineman. Maybe it's got something to do with the schemes they've been running.
Possibly. Look at the rest of what Houston did, man.
Let me go back. Sorry.
Kept Hunter. They signed Reed Blankenship, the former Eagles safety, 3-year deal, almost $25 million. Yeah, solid player. They already have an elite secondary, so he's just going to make them even better. Kind of reminds me of when in 2017, when Barry Church, former Cowboy, went to the Jaguars, old Saxonville Jaguars. Oh, Mario Scott's in the chat. We were just talking about his team and how much we love their uniforms.
Hey, Mario, no problem, brother. What do you think of the Tennessee look? It's been leaked. It's basically Houston. I do love the new helmet for sure, if that's what it looks like. I still haven't seen the full helmet on that. I want to say this, though. I think the difference is Barry Church stepped in as a starter and became a all-pro. I don't think what's his name? Blankenship's going to be a starter. I think he's going to be more of a nickel back in this defense.
Which is a fact, because he was already on an elite secondary with the Eagles last season, and he was a starter. You put him as a backup, that means that team is good.
Again, it's the offense. It's the offense, stupid. I think he got by last year because they made the playoffs, and a lot of it was offensive, and you go, okay, you're a defensive head coach. But I think the seat is firmly hot in Houston this year.
Yeah, if they don't address their offensive line fully, I mean, getting Braden Smith, great. Re-signing Trayton Brown, okay. Re-signing Ed Ingram, I guess. I mean, but the line was pretty terrible last season. So they need whatever draft picks they have this season, they need to go ahead and just address that now, because that'll be the difference between them going to the AFC title game or changes are going to have to be made. And this time will be at the head coaching position. As much as I like D'Amico Ryans, he got rid of his good buddy, OC Bobby Slowick, replaced him. So he's already gotten rid of a coordinator. The next step is for him to go if it doesn't work out.
No, I totally agree with that. And I like him, but I think some of the issues I might have with him is he just seems passive.
Oh, I don't. I think in some clips I've seen, I can see that, but I have to ask some Houston Texan fans that, because I kind of agree with what you're saying, but it's a very small sample. I haven't seen him get like heated or animated, but he probably has. He might not be like a days ago, but from what I've seen, I do agree with you.
And you know how that works. Fair or not, if you can't get past a certain level, that starts to become a knock on you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So let's go back to the Raiders.
So them and the Saints probably so far were considered the winners in free agency so far. What do you think?
The Saints? Wow, I didn't even think about that. I mean, I like the Travis Etienne Jr. side. That's the one I said in the short. Man, you want to talk, and look, the grades don't mean crap. It's just like draft grades. They're just fun to look at. That's one of those, man, that has such a big swing. I've seen people give it an A+. I've seen people give it a D. I like the signing. I said that on thing. First off, I don't think people realize he's from about 2 hours away. I think I always love when players go home, but not. It's hard if you go home as the prodigal son because then you have these expectations. I think him coming home to New Orleans, though, I think that's going to help. I think Kellen Moore is going to unleash him. Even as I said, in 4 years, he's had 1,000 yards, 3 of them. 2 of them, he's had 1,100 yards, yet it feels like he's underperformed at times. And I think that's the system. I think in Kellen Moore's system, he's going to be the next Alvin Kamara, Reggie Bush, whatever you want to say with a Saint and a running back who knows how to catch the ball. But other than that, I guess I like Noah Fant. He's okay.
Yeah, Noah Fant's a really good. I mean, it's a pretty solid tight end. I like one of the best guards available in free agency, David Edwards. Which to me, it feels like they're building around Tyler Shuck, the quarterback they drafted last season. He looked pretty decent in his rookie year, considering the talent he had around him. Signing Caden Ellis to the defense, I think that was a great move.
Yeah,
I like Julian Blackman coming back. I really like what they've done so far in the offseason. Etienne is the big one, but David Edwards is another one. And I really think if they address some other issues in the draft, get younger especially, I think that the Saints are going to take a big leap forward. They'll have competition because, their division rival, the Panthers, also made some big moves this offseason.
Hang on. Mario says, talking about D'Amico, I think he's passive when it comes to the offense. That's what I meant. You took the word. That's exactly what I meant. I didn't mean passive on the sideline. I mean he's passive with the offense. He's too hands off. He's too, I'll let y'all guys do this. I know when you get a one side of the ball head coach, you want to give the offense or the defense autonomy to an extent, but when you are struggling and it's the same issue over and over and over, and sometimes you got to put your foot down.
Yeah, I agree with that. And thank you, Mario, for responding because you're the expert in that case because you watch definitely more.
Do you watch, Mario? Do you watch and root for Houston? I know Tennessee's in the same division and all that, but is Houston like a second team for you? Now, where'd you want to go, Noe? I'm sorry.
Panthers, actually, if you don't mind.
Panthers made some good sneaky moves, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jalen Phillips, Devin Lloyd was the big one, but Jalen Phillips and Isaiah Simmons, linebacker edge solidified right there. That's just fantastic.
The only issue I have, man, is they overpaid for Jalen Phillips unless he magically starts being healthy, because that's been his one issue. That's been the Eagles, we always want to talk about Jalen Hurts and the offense in the years they didn't make the Super Bowl in the last 3 years, which is only 4 years. 2 of them they made it, 2 of them they didn't. But part of the issue is the Nakobe Deans and the Jalen Phillips and the Jalen Carters couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, health was an issue for sure. Dude, could they repeat? They got John Mechie III. He's a guy that in my dynasty league I was in, I drafted him, and he kind of showed up a little bit late last season with the Jets, but it was the Jets. He was probably the best available wide receiver for them. I think what Carolina is doing is helping Ejiro, their defensive coordinator, build something there on that side of the ball. Losing Brian Burns last season to the Giants hurt them, and you saw in the playoff game against the Rams that defense collapsed in that game-winning drive by the Rams in the wild card round. It's something they need to address. Something they need to get pressure. Jalen Phillips hopefully can be that guy, especially at 4 years and $120 million. Wow.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, Mario, I don't know if you heard what I asked earlier, but what are your thoughts on the new Titans uniform? As a guy that grew up as a Houston guy and then transferred over to Tennessee, but still liking Houston, that's got to even be weirder to see Houston wearing or Tennessee wearing basically Houston colors. Anyway, we'll let him answer. No, I agree. The NFC South. Let's go ahead and go over to the next team that I think made the biggest moves in the NFC South, and that, of course, being Atlanta, as they bring in future starter Tua Tagovailoa. I like the move. I don't think, A, Michael Penix Jr. is necessarily going to be 100% ready at the beginning of the year, and B, I don't know if he's the guy. You give Tua a chance to come in and compete, and let's I still believe Tua is a way better quarterback than the perception has become. And yes, the concussion jokes, and they're all funny, not to him personally. I mean, I feel bad for him. But I also think as much as Mike McDaniel is an offensive guy, I think his offense got a little too convoluted. I think here in Atlanta, you can simple things down, especially when you got Bijan. And I do hate that they lost the backup. I can think of his name. But you've got an offensive core that's ready. I think Tua could have a huge bounce back year this year.
Yeah, it did suck. You were talking about Tyler Algier. He went to the Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken. Tua, first round pick, also a left-handed quarterback. He's going to have Kyle Pitts. He's going to, as outstanding tight end, he's going to have Drake London, the number one receiver. They just got Olamide Zaccheaus, Jahan Dotson for depth at wide receiver. They got Austin Hooper at tight end to complement Kyle Pitts. That defense was actually pretty good last season, but we don't know what's going to happen with James Pierce because of the off-the-field drama with his now ex-girlfriend. I think it's Rakia Jackson with the Sparks.
Yeah.
Man, he had a great rookie season, and I think he just ruined his NFL career. He has some mental issues he needs to address, man. He is insane.
All right, so I'm putting the two things, Mario, because you weren't in here when we first started the show. My belief is the NFL went behind the scenes and told Tennessee to either use the colors or give them back to Houston, because the groundswell, even with Tennessee fans like you, and I think there's a lot more fans that transferred to Tennessee from Houston than people realize. It's hard to stop rooting for your team as a kid, even when they move. But I think that I legitimately believe this conspiracy theory. I genuinely believe that the NFL told the Adams family. Yeah, I always want to do the anyway, I genuinely believe they told them either use the colors or not. Because it's just really weird. They all of a sudden decide to go back to those. They just made a change, 2 years ago? That I think or 3 years ago. I think for the most part was pretty well received. They're not amazing uniforms, but they weren't ugly. I mean, I actually like the dark blue thumbtack helmet. I like what they're doing now. Believe me, I would rather the colors be on Tennessee than not be at all. That baby blue and red is, to me, one of the prettiest color combinations you can get.
I can't wait to see it on the field this season.
All right, where do you want to go next?
Before we close out Atlanta, I just wanted to say I really like the signing of Nick Folk. He was probably the best kicker last season.
He finally gets to be indoors.
I think he might have he might have a chance to go perfect this season. He's gotten way better as he's gotten older. It's nice to see him. He was definitely part of the Jets last season. They were terrible, but the one bright spot was their special teams, and he was kind of the highlight of that.
And he has basically been kicking the last 14 years in either New England or the Jets or places like that. He doesn't have a big leg, but I mean, I could see him easily now being indoors, as you said, not being perfect, but being close to it. I mean, dude, this guy is, and he never was really bad with Dallas. In fact, I mean, that last year, I think he struggled, but I think he also just kind of outpriced his contract for what Dallas was going to pay at that time. And then Dan Bailey fell in Dallas's lap, and that kind of helped. But I mean, this dude he's kicked in New Jersey, Tampa, New England, Tennessee, and then back to New Jersey last year. His last 3 years, statistically, field goals percentage-wise, have been his best 3 years. And it's not even close. This is a guy that before 2023 did not have a season where he kicked over 94%. In the last 3 years in Tennessee, which is a pretty good place to kick, but can get windy and cold, and in New Jersey, 96, 95, 96. The key is teams have realized inside the 40, he's great. Outside the 40, it gets a little dicey.
Yeah, man. Get your money, buddy. Where do you want to go next? Since you asked me last. I have a couple of spots, but I want you to go next.
Let's go to KC because they made, I think, the most impactful signing. I said this in a short. They hit the trifecta. They made a sexy splash signing Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker, 3-year deal worth up to $45 million, which is really not bad. It's basically what the franchise tag for running backs are right now if you average it out. Then they bring back the hometown hero, Travis Kelce, and then they get one of the greatest pluggers in the league that nobody talks about in Kyrus Tonga. I love that deal. I think Kansas City with Kenneth Walker III reignited that dynasty. They're back next year, and I think they're going to be scary back next year.
They only need one piece. They need a pass rusher to complement Karlaftis, because I think Chris Jones is starting to show some of his age. He's still young enough. I think he has one more good year in him. But yeah, overall, I love what they did in the offseason so far. Like you said, Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker III. He's what, the fourth Super Bowl MVP to leave his team?
Hang on. Here we go. This is a real 3, 2, 1. Intern Noah the Pro, Kenneth Walker III, just became a Super Bowl MVP that signed as a free agent to a new team in the very next year. That's not happened many times. Tell me the other ones.
Well, sir, 1995, you have former Cowboy Larry Brown. He left the Cowboys to go to the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken. And I think the next year, the Super Bowl MVP Desmond Howard, former Heisman Trophy winner, left the Packers.
Where did he go?
Oh, I can't remember. I think the Raiders or the Lions. It was the Raiders. Okay. Man, the Raiders were pretty busy in the mid to late 90s.
And what's the next one?
2003, Dexter Jackson. He was the safety for the Buccaneers on the 2002 championship team. I think he had 3 interceptions in the Super Bowl.
That was 2 with a pick 6. But here's the other odd note of that. All 3 of them eventually went back to their old team. Larry Brown ended back up on the Cowboys. Howard ended up back on the Packers. Jackson ended up back on the Buccaneers. Now, they weren't real impactful when they came back, but I did think that was kind of interesting as well.
I think Walker stands to be the most impactful Super Bowl MVP that leaves his team for another team.
100%. Look, love Larry Brown. People want to make it like, and we even had a short on that, fluke season or fluke moment or whatever. Larry Brown was a very solid cornerback on a team that won 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. He was a 12th round pick. We don't have 12 rounds anymore. He was solid, but the Raiders overspent. Desmond Howard was a niche player. Great at what he did, but the Raiders overspent. And then Dexter Jackson probably is one of the most, and I don't mean this as a knock, but just one of the most, okay, I forget about that one. Larry Brown's famous because he was on the Cowboys. I think if you asked who was the Tampa Bay MVP when they won, people would say things like Mike Allstat, Warren Sapp, blah, blah, blah. No, it was a very solid but little-known safety in Dexter Jackson.
Or Derek Brooks, who had an amazing 2002. So, yeah, they would have probably listed all the Hall of Fame Buccaneer defenders before they even got to Dexter Jackson. That's pretty funny. But I will say that the Chiefs did lose a bunch of players. They lost Charles Omenihu to the Commanders. They lost Leo Chanel also to the Commanders.
Yep.
And, of course, their cornerback duo of Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie to the Rams. They also lost another corner, Joshua Williams, to the Titans. And then their safety, a really good safety. People don't talk about him too much. And kudos on the Bengals. They got Brian Cook. For a Bengals team that has a crap defense, really good to address at least that part, and especially after they lost Trey Hendrickson to the Ravens.
All right, real quick. Chris Jones, is he a future Hall of Famer?
Yes, most definitely. Multiple-time Super Bowl champion, considered one of the best interior defensive linemen of his generation. He had the ideal size. The stats are there. The pass rush win rate, whatever you want to call it, quarterback hits. He was a menace, and he was a guy that also benefited from probably one of the greatest defensive minds in the game in the history, Steve Spagnuolo, a guy who we should put him on that Hall of Fame list too.
Oh, I don't know. We talked about that before, like off the air. I don't think Spags is quite there. I think what hurts him is, and I know this sounds weird because the Giants won 2 Super Bowls because of pass rush, blah, blah, blah. But the Giants defense in that era wasn't like They weren't top 3 in the league. Like they showed up during the playoffs, which of course matters. But when you're talking Hall of Fame, especially when you're talking assistant coaches, you're going to have in 20 years as a defensive coordinator, he had 16 top 5 defenses. Until the Chiefs a couple years ago, that really wasn't his thing. I think Chris Jones not only is a Hall of Famer, but if he can get to 100 sacks, and he's only 13 away, if he gets to 100 sacks, which he will, you've got to start talking about, is Chris Jones one of the best defensive tackles of all time?
Yeah, right now, there's a certain Ram player that just retired recently. I think he has the lead on there. But yeah, I agree. I think Chris Jones can make a case for that by the time his career is over.
And I don't think that he will replace Donald, but I think he'll go up there with Donald, with Randy White, with Warren Sapp, that group. You can add in the run pluggers, the Williams brothers, they weren't brothers, but the Williams from Minnesota back in the day. You can add those pluggers. And that's the thing about it. Like Warren Sapp's Aaron Donald's like the guy, and Warren Sapp to an extent is the guy that did both well. Played great against the run, was good on the pass rush. Chris Jones, great as a pass rush. He's not, and I'm not saying he's bad against the run, but I don't ever think of him as a run stuffer.
Well, that's mainly because the Chiefs are usually up on teams, and we are in a passing league as well.
That's a good point. All right, where you want to go next?
So NFC West, because I was really happy with what the Cardinals did this offseason. Let's start with the Cardinals.
All right, let me get over there. Oh, wrong one. There we go.
So, I mean, as we talked about to open up the podcast, the Cardinals did release their number 1 pick in 2019 quarterback Kyler Murray, who is now a Minnesota Viking. But their additions this season, they got Tyler Algier from the Falcons, a really good running back who's going to complement James Conner. I think they'll complement each other well, kind of like Algier complemented Bijan Robinson. I think that they got Kendrick Bourne from the 49ers, a really good wide receiver. You're not asking him to be the number 1. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., you got Michael Wilson, you got an outstanding elite tight end in Trey McBride. So you're just plugging Kendrick Bourne in there. I think he's going to work out well. And a really good offensive guard in Isaac Seumalo, or Samalo, sorry if I mispronounce. 3 years, $31 million. I think they even underpaid to get him. He was on that Philadelphia Eagle 2022 team that made it to the Super Bowl, signed a contract with the Steelers, 3 great years there. I think he's going to do well with Arizona. He's going to help Jacoby Brissett stay upright, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like what they did on the offensive side. I know they still need to address the defensive side, and they've signed some players. Roy Lopez, defensive lineman, LJ Collier, they kept him. Jonah Williams, they kept him. So I like what the Cardinals did this offseason so far.
The only issue I have with it is it reminds me of Tennessee a couple years ago when they added a lot of pieces that you think would be great, secondary pieces on a playoff team, and you're going to ask them to, like Algier, and I know Connor's back, but Connor's a year older. You're going to ask Algier to do more. I mean, yeah, they technically have a number 1 in Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's yet to be a number 1. His stats aren't terrible, but they're not number 1 numbers. Bourne's going to have to at least be a 2A. I feel like this would all look better if they had a quarterback in play, because the issue is I think these guys can win them enough where they're not fighting for the number 1 pick, and they need to be fighting for the number 1 pick. Next year's quarterback class is going to be really good. So I do have an issue with that. All right, let's go to the Rams, because, man, the Rams, they said, hey, we need secondary. So, hey, Chiefs, we're going to trade you one and we're going to sign you one. And all of a sudden, the biggest issue of the Rams is now a strength with cornerback Trent McDuffie, with cornerback Jalen Watson, and then re-signing Cameron Curl. I mean, I know we've been saying it the last few years, but I think these deals make the Rams, once again, one of the top teams, if not a top team in the NFC.
Yeah, like you said, if we had to say the Rams had a flaw, it was the cornerbacks, and they got one of the best in the NFL in Trent McDuffie, and one of the more underrated ones in Jalen Watson. This is, I mean, you just nailed it. Like, they don't have to do anything else this offseason, and this is an A+ for them. And then, go ahead.
I didn't realize that Dre Greenlaw signed with the Niners.
Oh, he came back, and they say you can never come back home. That defense is all of a sudden looking. I mean, I think Robert Saleh kind of wishes he. I mean, he's happy as a head coach with the Titans, but if he had this defense last season, who knows how far the 49ers could have gone.
Oh, don't worry, he'll be back in San Francisco in 3 years. I mean, I look, we talked about it. Odighizuwa is a great move for them. Greenlaw, I mean, he was solid last year. I don't know if this moves the needle, and especially as I said in the short, signing an injury-prone veteran wide receiver to the most injury-prone team in the NFL, that just smacks of, you got to be kidding me, right? This is a joke. And I love Mike Evans. Mike Evans will eventually be a Hall of Famer. I think some people are overestimating how quick he'll be in because there's such a glut at wide receiver for Hall of Fame, but he eventually will get in. But none of these moves make me think San Francisco, and I know they made the playoffs, and they even won a damn playoff game last year, but that team was not a good team.
Yeah, they had no wide receiver. They were basically relying on Christian McCaffrey to do everything and remain healthy, which it's last few years have shown that it's kind of hard for him to do that. Now, in his 49er career, mostly he has been healthy, but asking him, especially in his advanced age, to be the leading receiver and leading runner, it's a bit much. But they made it work last season. That's why I thought Kyle Shanahan should have been the coach of the year, just based off of what he did with what he didn't have.
All right. What's the last couple teams you want to talk to as we'll wrap it up for tonight?
Let's see. Let's just go through. I don't think we touched the NFC North at all, did we? The Bears, Packers.
Let's see.
Oh, we talked about the Vikings a little bit, just with Kyler Murray.
All right, Chicago. Whoa, I didn't realize Case Keenum was still in the league.
He was a Bear last season. Yeah, they kept him for another. They're keeping him for another couple years apparently.
That's what you do. Former Cowboy Neville Gallimore signs a 2-year $12 million deal. Devin Bush, so this is one of those things, and I like Devin Bush. Devin Bush is one of those classically came out and he struggled. He wasn't as high impact as people thought. Last year with the Browns, he found his footing, or you can make the case he was surrounded by like 7 guys that if on a good team would have made All-Pro. So they signed him to a 3-year, $30 million deal, and they let Tremaine Edmonds go. I don't get that. Like, I would rather have Tremaine Edwards.
Yeah, I don't get that either. Maybe Edmonds just got a higher deal somewhere else. I mean, I know he signed. Oh, they released. Oh, yeah, they did release him.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, he's too expensive, and I'm just like, okay, so then you spend $30 million on a guy that. Let me see what his contract was.
Yeah, they did release. The big shock was 27-year-old center Drew Dahlman, who they acquired from Atlanta last season. He just announced his retirement. They went in and got the Patriots center, Garrett Bradbury, to replace him. It is a downgrade, but he's solid. I know the Patriots offensive line got some flack in Super Bowl 60 when they just really couldn't protect their stud quarterback. But yeah, Drake May was kind of just running all over the place. It was Mayday all over the place, But I think with the other 4 offensive linemen with the Packers or the Bears, I think Bradbury's not asked to do too much.
So, all right. So first off, Mario says best career journeyman quarterback, talking about Case Keenum. I actually called a high school game of his back when he was at Abilene Wiley. One of my classic calls was him basically, hurdling, and I don't mean barely hurdling like you see in the NFL, literally hurdling a defender to score a touchdown. I mean, that guy's just one of those that's just balls to the wall, and that's what made him great. But I want to go back to this because this is one of those things I'm asking people that are listening, and I'm asking you, intern Noah the Pro. This doesn't make sense to me. So Tremaine Edwards, they released him because they weren't going to be able to sign him. And I agree. I believe that. I believe he wanted a ton of money. Yet he ends up going to the Giants for 3 years and $36 million. Okay, they signed Devin Bush for 3 years, $30 million. Are you telling me, like, as the player, Tremaine Edmonds, whatever your demand is for the Bears is not going to be met, so they're going to release you. You're going to end up signing for less. So why not just take the 3 years, $30 million with the Bears? Like I get wanting all your money, but when a team says we're cutting you for salary reasons, you're not going to get what you think you're going to get at the next team. You're going to have to take less. This is just a confusing move to me.
Yeah, because it's kind of what we were talking about with. I'm trying to remember the player. I don't think it was Max Crosby, but it was someone where it was like, okay, do they value the money or winning Super Bowls? Because if they go this one route with this team that's not going to win a Super Bowl, they're going to get paid a lot, probably overpaid. But in the other course, they can take a pay cut and get that ring that they probably maybe have been chasing this whole time. So it's just, yeah, it is kind of confusing.
To be fair to Edmonds, he was released, but my whole point with and he signed a deal in 2023 for $72 million. That's fine if you don't think he's living up to it. So go to him and say, hey, look, we don't think you're living up to this deal. So let's tear this up. We'll release you. And teams do this all the time. Just like Aaron Jones. It came out basically Minnesota and Aaron Jones agreed to, hey, look, we want to keep you, but we can't pay you what you're paying. If we release you, we'll redo a new deal. And that's what they did. And maybe they tried that with the Bears, tried that with Edmonds, and he said, no, I'm going to go find more. I just think it's weird. He basically just signed $6 million more than the Bears replacement. And I think if the Bears played it right, they could have gotten Edmonds for 3 year, $36 million. That's just one of those weird things where I think players sometimes assume I will go find more if I'm not going to get paid here. But anyway, let's go to Detroit. Again, they traded David Montgomery. They got Juice Scruggs. Now, I like Juice Scruggs offensive lineman. I think he's one of those that's truly in a different scheme, can do well. They got Cade Mays, a center. What's his name? Retired from them suddenly.
Dan Skipper.
Yeah, Dan Skipper. So this is kind of a reach. Isaiah Pacheco. Okay, I don't think it matters. Look, this is a Jahmyr Gibbs season. That dude's going to be Derrick Henry this year. He's going to lead the league in rush carries. He's probably going to lead the league in receptions for running backs. As someone said, it's almost like they're going to Ezekiel him, and they're just about to grind him into the ground.
Which kind of worries me, where, I might get him in fantasy if I can get him this season, but how many years will you get? Will they do a good balance between him and Pacheco? That'll be something interesting to see. I have no feeling for the Lions this season. I'm not sure if they're going to be good or bad. They won 9 games last year, but they could have won more. Huh?
Did I not call it? I said when they lost to Washington, that window started closing and closing and closing, and now it's really closing. Like, I'm not saying if they don't do it this year, Dan Campbell's fired, but I do think the seat has started to warm up on him, because it felt like last year a lot of his bombastic styles and stuff, it kind of was starting to fall on deaf ears.
Yeah, when you're not winning, then it looks bad for sure. But this is the best run stretch for the Lions since Bobby Lane in the late 50s. So he'll probably still get a year or two. But
I would say this is the best stretch since the 90s Lions. The 90s Lions made multiple playoffs, made an NFC title game, got their ass beat by Washington. Wow. Wow. So I think this is the best since then. Let's remember, Dan Campbell, they still, this hasn't been like a 7 or 8 year run. This has been a 4-year run, basically, with 2 of those, one of them getting better but not making the playoffs, and then 2 of them making the playoffs and then not making the playoffs this year. This literally feels like the Wayne Fontes era.
Old Rasputin.
I loved how he would do that every year. He would always be Sports Illustrated coaches on the hot seat, and then he'd make the playoffs, and he signs a 3-year deal, and then the next year he'd miss the playoffs, and they'd start it all over again.
Yeah, it's funny because after 91 was the last year prior to 2023 that they made it to the NFC title game, and the next year I think they went 5-11. So the year the Cowboys won the Super Bowl, the 92.
All right, we're gonna do a little comparison here. This is why I love this show. All right, so Wayne Fats. Oh, rest in peace, Wayne. Man, him and what's his name from Minnesota? That sucks.
Oh, Dennis Green.
All right, so wait, what? No, I want the coaching. I don't want the coordinator. God, Pro Football Reference has gotten really weird as of late. All right, so 91, as you said, they made the NFC title game. All right, one of the craziest runs because the year before they were bad. So he started in '88. He was 2-3. He was coming in the middle of the season. 7-9, 6-10. Boom, 12-4. Then went. That's the NFC title game. Then went 5-11. Then went 10-6, 9-7, 10-6. Finished 5-11. All right. Here's Dan Campbell's. Started 5-17. Oh, I'm sorry. That's with the Dolphins. My bad. 2021. 3-13, 9-8, 12-5, 15-2, 9-8. Those are almost exactly similar styles. Record wise,
kind of similar, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. I wish I could do it only in that. So from 91 through, we'll go 90. Well, how many years? Hang on. How many years has Campbell been there? 1, 2, 3,
5 seasons.
All right, so 5 seasons. So we'll start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the first 5 seasons of Wayne Fontes, he won 6, 12, 5, 10, and 9. The first 5 seasons for Dan, 3, 9, 12, 15, and 9. The only difference is Wayne Fontes, after that title game appearance, they cratered at 5-11. That was a bunch of injuries, though. That was the Scott Mitchell year, things like that. So I just think it's funny. Everybody thinks Dan Campbell has done something that no Lion coach has done since, as you said, Bobby Lane, and him and Wayne Fontes, at least as to this point, have basically had the same career.
You know, that 93 Lions team, they probably should have been a 2 seed. They were just like a game or two where it was kind of a weak year in the NFC. Dallas was clearly the better team out of all of it.
San Francisco was and everybody else.
Yeah, but I mean, San Francisco was kind of like they were 10-6, and so were the Lions. But San Francisco got the 2 seed because they destroyed the Lions in Detroit.
Mario says, is Bridgewater playing into a coaching job? I think possibly. I would like to say, well, he's only coached in high school, but we've seen that doesn't matter.
Jason Witten.
Huh?
Jason Witten, I think he had that championship with, was it Abilene Christian or something like that?
Argyle Christian.
Oh yeah, and now he's in with OU as a tight end coach.
He's actually, if Bridgewater, I was meeting some of the guys like Jeff Saturday that went from high school.
That made no sense at all.
Witten's doing it right, and I think Bridgewater would too. Witten's doing it right. He was a head coach in high school. Now he's moving on into college. He's going to be a college coach for a few years, and then we'll see where he goes from there. I just hope he doesn't try to do another toupee. Stick with the bald hair, brother. It looks good on you.
Amen.
From one baldy to another. Let's see here. Where do you want to finish? We're getting long in the tooth on this one.
Let's see. What division have we not tackled yet? AFC East?
AFC East. All right, we'll finish on the AFC East. I think Buffalo, I love. Wait, hang on. Why is it not loading? All right, here we go. I love what they did in bringing in DJ Moore. I don't think he's going to be a true number one and get 1,400 yards, but you needed to be able to put someone above Shakir so he could be the number 2, because I think he could be an amazing number 2. Now you let him be a true number 2. Of course, they saved their season by signing former UT Shane Buechele. He will take them to the Super Bowl. I don't know who this John or Joe Allen is. Never heard of him. I like that they re-signed Dawson Knox. I like Connor McGovern coming back. I really love this one. Circle this one as the All-Pro, will be a DPOY contender, Bradley Chubb. I love that move.
I agree with you, but I kind of hope it doesn't work out so we can go back to this show and I can rub it in your face.
Why are you you're...
I'm just going for scorched earth at this point.
I just always want to talk football. Why are you always want to maybe the competition? I just
what do you think of the Miami Packers?
Malik, Scott Mitchell, Willis. Look, I love it. I'm curious. Malik Willis has somehow went from being what was considered. I mean, you still technically consider it one of the worst picks in a first draft, especially as a quarterback. He was on the Jamarcus Russell, Akili Smith, David Klinger. I threw in Klinger just because I don't want to make it sound like I'm just only talking about African-American quarterbacks. But you get the point of these first-round wonders that just fizzed, and he goes to Green Bay, and he's completely reinvented himself. Has he reinvented himself into 45 fully guaranteed with a $67 million deal? I don't know. I think that's actually a pretty damn good deal for this guy if he blossoms, especially with all the dead money they're going to have.
It's market value. It's under $30 million a year, well under $30 million a year. So, I mean, it's not bad. I think he's a capable starter. I think the Packers kind of proved that. New coach Jeff Hafley, he's a defensive-minded coach. That he was their defensive coordinator. That was kind of the joke I was putting. Like they got Josh Uche as well on the defensive side. Any of the defensive players they have, I think they're going to benefit with Hafley as their head coach. I don't know how it's going to happen with the Dolphins. I think this is just the year. I think you need to give Hafley at least 2 years just to at least see some type of improvement, because I think they're just kind of directionless at this point.
Really? Why do you feel that way?
I just feel after Tua left and Hill's going to be gone, they had an identity 2 or 3 years ago, and now they're kind of pivoting and going probably more defensive minded, more conservative on the offensive side of the ball. I just don't have a real feel for this team. I like Devin Achane. I like some of the talent they have, but
I think stay healthy.
if they can stay healthy, I don't like I don't really particularly like the offensive line right now at this point. I don't know how good the defense can be. I have trust in Jeff Hafley though. I at least I know he can get them into the top half of the league.
Oh, I thought he was a first-round pick. My bad, Christopher Sherry. Welcome to the show. I don't know why I thought Malik Willis was a first-round pick.
He was, I want to say second or third. I can't remember.
I don't know why I just had that in my mind. Maybe it's just how bad he played. I will say this. Do you think there is a world where Miami wishes they'd have kept McDaniel with them bringing in Malik Willis? Because, again, as maligned as McDaniels was last year, they started bad and then they became pretty competitive. I mean, this is a team that they finished 7-10, but from where they started, I don't know. I kind of feel like I'd love to have seen a world where Mike McDaniel is the head coach with Malik Willis. Yeah, third. Thank you, Christopher. Third round out of Liberty. One of the Flames. That is kind of funny that a very Christian school's named the Liberty. I'm just saying, guys. There's something weird about that. But anyway, I think it would have been interesting to see that world.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. I liked how they recovered after the bad start last season, and they kind of were in playoff contention up until late. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see what the Dolphins do. I think Mike McDaniel will do great. I think he's with the LA Chargers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I mean, him and Justin Herbert, it looks like magic to me with the healthy offensive line. That was their Achilles heel last season. I think the Chargers could be a contender, like the favorite probably.
Over the Chiefs?
All the Chargers needed was a healthy offensive line. They lost their 2 tackles basically from the jump of that last season. So it was kind of.
I need Justin Herbert to play good in the playoff game too.
I think he didn't benefit from the fact that he didn't have his Rashawn Slater. He didn't have big dude from Notre Dame, Joe Alt. There, I think it was a big reason.
I'm talking about his whole playoff career.
Yes, I know. The Houston game was pretty bad. Was that the first one?
No, the Jacksonville comeback.
Oh yeah, because they're up 27. Yeah. But I'm just saying. I think I'm just looking recent. I'm just gonna be recent about it. Like I think the reason why they lost to the Patriots was mainly because of the offensive line and the other injury issues they had.
I think because of the Cowboy quarterbacks, try to give soft spots to quarterbacks who struggle in the playoffs. Because we had this talk about Lamar Jackson. I remember after the second bad game he had in the playoffs, I'm like, this is becoming an issue. And you're like, oh, no, it's not going to be. I think you have a soft spot.
Yeah, that second one was to Mario's team, the Titans, in the 2019 divisional game. I remember that one. It was pretty bad.
Hey, Christopher, you're right. He said the first round pick that year was worse. We talked about him. He's now a Commander, the great Treylon Burks. Because, we're going to replace A.J. Brown with Treylon Burks.
Hey, where do you think A.J. Brown goes?
I don't think he goes anywhere now. I think if that was going to happen, unless something happens on trade night, I think it would have happened during this.
How about draft night?
I just said maybe draft night, but if you're going draft night.
Oh, okay. You said trade night, but okay. You meant draft night. Okay.
Yeah. And, apparently the biggest one has been him going to the Patriots, which would fit even with them, especially with them signing Romeo Doubs to a 4-year, $70 million deal. But that's a lot for a guy that I really like, but man, he never seems to stay healthy. But if you put him and what's the
Hey
other?
man, I can't wait to see the NFL blitz guardian cap helmet Dobbs is going to wear this season.
Dude, why are you so against player safety, brother? It kind of concerns me. I know your nickname at Irvin MacArthur is Noe CTE Tedla, but come on. All right, let's finish up with the Jets as they go
The
back.
funniest thing ever happened.
Yep.
Geno Smith gets traded back to the Jets. I love it.
My favorite joke is somehow the Jets are going to get Geno Smith before he got good and then after he got good. I actually like this deal for them. Look, I don't know if Justin Fields is even going to be on the roster. You and I pinned for him. I thought him going to the Jets was going to make Justin Fields special. He's not. Maybe he rediscovers it, but I think it's time to say Justin Fields is not a true NFL starter. So you need a bridge quarterback. You bring in Geno Smith, who can play. You retag or you franchise Breece Hall. Again, the biggest issue for them is they're just in a division where there's at least two good teams, and you think Miami could be good. They're going to have to do leaps and bounds better. And I don't think Aaron Glenn I think he makes the season, but I think next year the Jets are looking for a new head coach.
But man, he got some defensive talent coming. He got Mika Fitzpatrick. He got Naquan Wright, who kind of blew up last season with the Bears. He got a really good linebacker in Demario Davis. He got a stud defensive tackle in Tavondre Sweat, excuse me. And
he got two horns. He's got Joseph Osai and Sweat. But here's the issue. Look, here's my thing with Minka Fitzpatrick. What is the deal? Why are teams? I mean, he's been traded. Miami had him, traded him, got him back, then traded him. What is the deal? Why does he always get traded? Like, I'm not saying like he's a bad locker room or whatever, but I mean, he's supposed to be, I would say, a top 10 safety. He just signed a deal like a top 10 safety. But why is it he has not found footing on a team?
That makes no sense to me because I thought he was a great fit with the Steelers. I thought he was a playmaker. Trading him for Jalen Ramsey made no sense to me. Well, I don't know if that was the actual trade, but that's kind of what happened.
I think it was. Well, not what. Yeah, I think it was actually. Yeah, it was. Actually.
It just didn't make any sense to me. Like I would prefer Minka Fitzpatrick. I think he's a ball hawk to me, but his game might have fell off. I don't know. I don't remember seeing it falling off. I know he was just on a terrible team last season. But pairing him with Naquan Wright and they addressed all three phases of that defense: line, linebacker, and secondary really well. And I'm very bully on the Jets getting at least one interception this season.
It blows my mind that this is the Naquan Wright that the Cowboys drafted.
I mean, Dan Quinn was right about him eventually.
Dude is not a bust. I think he was a second-round pick or third-round pick. Not a bust, but third round. But he never really became what everybody thought he could. And they passed on Elijah Molden, Eftel Fiano, Avery Thomas, Braden Stevens. And he struggled. And then he goes to Minnesota for a year and he's okay. And then last year, maybe this is a one-year wonder thing. Last year, he just became so impressive. And I can't. And for some reason, you said this wasn't the right guy because I said I can't believe Naquan Wright, the Cowboy, and you're like, oh, that's a different guy. No, this was the same guy. The former Cowboy ended up having an amazing year last year.
Because I just couldn't. I thought he was out of the NFL at that point.
I mean, that's crazy. Played well in the playoffs in his 2 games. Had 2 tackle for losses. Now we have to see, is this a one-year wonder? But I agree with you. On paper, all these moves look amazing. I just want to remind you that Aaron Glenn, a very good cornerback at college and in the pros, was a head coach of a team that for the first time in a bazillion years didn't have an interception.
It's hilarious, almost as hilarious as the Jets signing Geno Smith.
Again, I think it's a great move. I think that's a great bridge move.
I wouldn't judge Geno Smith based off what happened last season with the Raiders. I mean, that was a train wreck franchise. Chip Kelly. There were so many bad things about that team. I think he can still be salvageable. I would love for him to have a great year with the Jets. I don't see it happening, but hey, if Dylan Parham can come in and help solidify that offensive line, give him some protection, Brees Hall is team focused and all in for the 2026 season. I could see some moves there. I think Geno and Garrett Wilson can form a good quarterback wide receiver duo. They have a really good tight end already, the rookie they got last year. The defense, just the players they got in this offseason alone, I like it. They lost Nick Folk, so I'm not sure how good that special team is going to be. If they can address the kicker situation, maybe get Jason Sanders, who's no longer a Miami Dolphin, solid kicker. I would be kind of bully on the Jets getting at least a 500.
The one thing about the Jets over the last few years, they've had good return guys. They have found, and it's weird how bad teams will find one niche that they can do, and that's one thing they've done. I think in the last 4 years, they've led the league 3 of the 4 years in return yards and such. I think. Well, let's finish up with the South, because we talked Houston and we talked Tennessee, but we really didn't talk Indianapolis and we really didn't talk Jacksonville. So let's start there. Daniel Jones re-signs on a 2-year, $88 million deal. This could be worth up to $100 million with incentives, including more than $60 million guaranteed, 50 of it in year one. Very smart. Front-loaded the guaranteed money. That makes it – people don't understand it. The cap hit is mainly guaranteed money. And so if you front-load it, eat that early, then you can cut him in 2 years, and it's not as big of a hit on your cap. My issue is – Alec Pierce re-signing for 4 years, $114 million. I love Alec Pierce as a deep threat number 2. I don't think you're going to be able to put Alec Pierce in there and expect him to run the routes that a number 1 needs to run.
Yeah, that's kind of why I liked Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman Jr. together, because I think they complemented each other's, quality, their best sides. I think maybe Shane Steichen is bully. I keep saying that word tonight. Is very.
You're smoked bourbon. You're getting
all. Oh yeah, that is true.
All British on us.
Yeah. Former Cincinnati Bearcat Alex Pierce is gonna. He banked. I don't know if he can improve upon what he did last season. Getting good.
Here's the thing, though. Last season, now he only played 14 games. That's only missing 3 games, and this was his career year. This is a guy you just gave over $100 million to. 47 receptions, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. Now, he led the league in yards per. That's why I say he's maybe the best deep threat in the game. But you can't not pay a guy $100 million to go 47, 1,000, and 6 touchdowns. That's Joey Galloway numbers in Dallas when he was healthy.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure. I don't know. I have no feel for the Colts this season, because they lost Braden Smith to the Texans. They lost Michael Pittman in a trade with the Steelers. Zaire Frank. Huh?
They couldn't. They said they couldn't. They didn't feel they could keep him because they made the deal with Pierce.
Yeah. Kwity Paye, the Raiders, Neville Gallimore, Bears, Zaire Franklin, Packers in a trade. Good for the Packers. They lost a cornerback, Rodney Thomas, safety Nick Cross. So they've had some losses this offseason. I'm not sure. I mean, with Daniel Jones probably not starting the season because he's still injured. I don't know, man. I think they might have. I know last season they had the fast start. Maybe this season they have the slow start, and then Jones gets, Indiana Jones gets back in mid-season, and they go on a run. Maybe.
I'm like you. This feels like the team that could easily end up back to 5-12.
Do you think the Jaguars are going to regress some?
No, actually, I don't. I mean, again, we're in a division where them and Houston are the bell cows. And again, I'm still very unsold on Houston right now because yes, I like Braden Smith, but as you even said, they re-signed Ed Ingram and Trent Brown Trent Brown wasn't a big deal, but Ed Ingram, a $37 million deal, 23 guaranteed. I mean, he wasn't, I don't even know if you'd call him good last year. No. So, I mean, Jacksonville looked really good last year until the playoffs. It felt like they actually looked like a real team and not just kind of got to the playoffs because of the division they were in. Lawrence at one point was literally a true MVP candidate. Now, I think losing Travis Etienne Jr. will hurt. They did bring back DJ Dallas. I forgot he was even in the league. They signed Chris Rodriguez Jr., who, man, a couple years ago felt like he might be something, but injuries and lack of playing time. And then they basically just re-signed their guys. Morris at tight end, Gardeck at edge, Dickerson on the line, Monteric Brown at cornerback. They feel comfortable with what they're doing, I guess.
Hey, old Duval, Liam Cohen, head coach. He kind of had a little glow up when he went to Jacksonville. The team had a glow up this past season. Jacksonville Jaguars owner, his son, having a glow up in the wrestling side with AEW. They're doing pretty well. There's a lot of glowing up with the Jaguars.
What is up with you? Some of your words tonight. Did you notice Duval? You're right on the glove though. Like he was not chunky, but he looked nerdy and goofy in the whole Duval. And then dude rolls out week 1 and he's lost like 20 pounds, got some arms, and got a nice little scraggly beard and everything. I love
fixed his teeth.
Yeah, he fixed his teeth. I love the redo he did though.
Yeah, as I have coined tonight for the first time ever, anyone's ever heard in history, glow up.
Yeah, nobody else has ever said that.
Correct. Correct.
Let's go ahead and finish on the Titans because they signed their new future reclaimed starter who's going to lead them to the playoffs, and Mitchell Trubisky. No, I like that. Solid hire or solid bringing on a backup. Cam, he didn't have a terrible rookie year, but he didn't have a good rookie year. In fact, it was very just But I think a lot of that was who's around him. They bring in Wan'Dale Robinson on a 40. Put it this way. I think Wan'Dale Robinson, even though he's small, can be a better number 1 than Alec Pierce, and the Titans got him for less money.
Hey, like I said earlier in the show, smallest player to ever get 1,000 receiving yards. So he has a talent, and clearly their offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll, who was the head coach for the Giants, sees the talent there too. And with Danielle Bellinger, another former Giant. I like a lot of the moves the Titans have made. Losing Trevondre Sweat might be a big loss, but
they traded for him, so they felt that they needed to make that move.
Yeah, maybe Jermaine Johnson is a better fit with Robert Saleh, who's going to be calling the defense for the Titans this season. And then John Franklin Myers converting to defensive tackle. You saw how good he was with the Broncos. Another former Jet, now reunited with Robert Saleh in Tennessee. And I like a lot of the stuff they've done. Bringing back Solomon Thomas, bringing in Solomon Thomas, who's a big body guy.
But hang on. I wish this was true because Solomon was actually traded from the Cowboys. But I wish a franchise was so inept, as this reads, that the Tennessee Titans traded Solomon Thomas to the Tennessee Titans for a 7th-round pick.
No.
I wish it's a typo, but I really wish a team was so inept in the front office that they traded for one of their own players. I like the moves, but I will say this, and I said this a couple years ago. It feels like the moves of a team that thinks they're ready to make the next step into the playoffs. A lot of these guys would be really, really solid 2s on a playoff team, and you're going to ask them on this team to be 1s. Now, in saying that, I trust in Robert Saleh defensively. He knows what he's doing, but that's still my concern that they're signing a lot of number 2s for bigger money and expecting them to be number 1s.
Yeah, and again, I was really happy with what Tennessee did a couple of years ago when they brought in like L'Jarius Sneed and Chidobe Awuzie, and it just didn't pan out. Something feels different about this one, but it does give me kind of that vibe that you're mentioning. But I guess until we see it on the field, we won't know.
Real quick, the Broncos signed a couple Longhorns back to deal. Sam Ehlinger, little Jordan Humphrey. They're basically just in bringing back everybody. And they should. I get this. Denver thinks they are set. And you're right. Depending on what Patrick Mahomes does and everything, I do think Denver's the favorite, at least at the beginning of the year in the West. So it makes sense. We already talked about the Chiefs. We talked about the Raiders. We talked about Chargers. I think we've talked about them all pretty much.
I think so too. Broncos lost a lot of assistants.
But that's what's going to happen when you're a good team. You're always your coaching staff's always going to be kind of churning.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's a bad thing if they're not churning, right? Like with the Lions a couple years ago, they lost both of their coordinators, one to the Bears, Ben Johnson, and one to the Jets, Aaron Glenn. So
one of them will probably be back with the Lions next year if Dan Campbell's still there. Ben Johnson, because the Bears will fire him after he goes only 11-6.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be doing every other week happy hour for the next few months, except for things like the draft. Already got it up. Live draft, April 23rd to Thursday. We might do something on Friday or Saturday, or we might just do a recap maybe on Sunday. I kind of would like to do a second show quicker than we normally have on the draft because usually we like to wait a week. But I kind of like to do something on Sunday as well. But we definitely will have a live show then. We're going to have our baseball preview. We're bringing back Texas Tucson. We got us at least one sponsor, so we're going to bring that back on a week or maybe every other week basis to start, depending on everything. Also, at least I am, and I know you'll probably want to join anyway. We're going to have a couple NHL playoff shows where we talk, rounds and everything with not only Dallas, but just I always watched hockey, but I kind of about 9 years ago, I kind of traded watching a ton of soccer to fully integrating into hockey because FC Dallas just got to be so effing ridiculously boring. And then, it just, I always say this, and I think you realize it now as you get older. The older you get, you kind of just have to start, okay, I can't watch that sport anymore. I don't want to be that consumed in the sports. I mean, I'll still read 2 hours on it and I can still talk about it, but I just don't want to watch it anymore. And so hockey's kind of replaced soccer and basketball for me. So we'll have a couple NHL shows and all that kind of fun stuff. We've got some our off-season shows coming. We're going to start our sports pop culture side with Friday Night Lights. We're going to start doing another look back. We still haven't really figured out which one we want to do on the look backs this year. I kind of think a fun one going back to how we did when we did the Cowboys and we had the top 5 rivals, but then we also had a show of the 70s rivals, the 80s rival. We did, I think a fun show. And I got this because of the Minnesota Saints playoff history. It's really weird because 2 of the most impactful games in playoff history is Minnesota and Saints, though they don't have a long playoff history. Because you think about the Brett Favre interception game, and then, of course, Case Keenum, Minnesota Miracle. So I think a fun show would be the odd, quirky, they were rivals, but not every year, but they're like the Arizona and Green Bay. They have a playoff rivalry, things like that. I think that'd be kind of fun, but we'll talk about that. Anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah. Bam Adebayo, Miami Heat player, scores 83 points, second most of all time, randomly, and it's overshadowed because of what's going on during free agency.
I disagree I will say this. I disagree with it being overshadowed. This, even on a night, I sleep early. My wife has very early schedule, so I tend to go to bed unless there's it's football season, NFL Monday night. I tend to go to bed at 8:30, 9:30, or at least lay down. And so you had sent that, and then when I went, dude, it was all over the place. So I don't think it was, I think what people are saying is, and it's no disrespect to him, but this wasn't a Kobe thing. This was him shooting 40 or taking 43 free throw attempts, 36 of them made. Good on him for that. But apparently they were purposely fouling to get more possessions, and they kind of massaged that 83. But, well, now knowing, to be fair, a lot of people don't realize that kind of happened in the Wilt Chamberlain game too. There was a lot of massaging in that fourth quarter to make sure he got 100. I think this is awesome. I think this is like, who was it I saw? It's like Isaiah Cromwell getting a 200-yard game when he did with the Jets. Jonas Gray getting a 200-yard game, the one game he ever started. I love it when it's a quirky guy that ends up there, and it's not just the typical Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame. So I personally like it, but apparently a lot of the NBA purists are not fans of it.
He's a guy that he might have averaged 20 points a game for a season twice in his career. Very good all-around player. Very good all-around player. He's just not a guy that you would expect to get 83 points.
And I love that. I miss that days. It's funny because in every other sport, it's awesome. But, if a Brady Anderson hits 49 home runs out of nowhere, oh, he must be on roids. I'm looking at his career.
He's one of those guys you want on your team. A really good defender, can score.
That's it. And I will admit this. I don't follow. You and I have talked about this. I know the name, but I don't follow basketball anymore. Again, I read it, but I don't follow it. I love the fact that a dude that's basically been in the top 5 for Defensive Player of the Year 5 of the last 6 years. Last year, he was in the top 10. He's made 3 All-Star games, made multiple all-defensive teams. He's the one that hits for 83. I love that. I am now a fan of his because of that. I think that's cool.
Yeah, he was a great player, and Miami's on a roll right now. So I want someone like him, to win a championship, being the centerpiece.
I totally agree. And then of course, Dwight, no man's penis, Howard has retired. It's sad, dude. That dude is one of the greatest defensive centers of all time. Mm-hmm. One of the greatest rebounders of all time. Also could score, but he became such the butt of jokes because of off the court stuff. I feel bad for him, but man, we will have to do, because I'm still watching basketball at this point. We will have to do a deep dive of his career with the Lakers, because that went sideways. Like, the only other player that was worse was Lamar Odom with the Mavericks. I mean, Lamar doing lines on the line, Odom, who, apparently now wants to coach, because that's the guy I trust coaching, like Ron Watch. Never mind. Maybe he'll work. He'll probably win a title. All right. Anyway, any questions, thoughts, or comments? Email the show, odtcnetwork@gmail.com. We will be back in a couple of weeks, sir. You have yourselves a good night and a good weekend.
You too.
It's not like we're going to